Today, we're going to be taking a look at some FNAF fan games that are almost impossible to take seriously. Whether they're intentionally hilarious, completely absurd, or just filled with moments that make you wonder what the developer was thinking, these games are pure entertainment. Some of these had me laughing way more than they ever had me scared, so let's dive into them. Hype in the Five Nights at Freddy's community, something that is one of my favorite parts of the entire fandom. Seeing people get excited for new titles is always exciting, and a large majority of the time, the games they're excited for turn out to be amazing. Currently, I know I'm waiting for Soulless Look to come out. That one looks awesome. But of course, with all hype comes games that get overhyped and can never live up to the expectations. And sometimes an even weirder phenomenon happens. We get people hyping up a game that's already released, only for the game to be pretty lackluster overall. This is the central theme of the game we'll be talking about in today's video. That game being Bondi's Barnyard Safety Violation, a game I've been recommended more than even games like Left to Rot and Banshee, even though the actual game itself is probably one of the most boring games I've ever played. So join me today as we dive into the weird world of this game and see if we can figure out why so many people say it's as great as it is. Bondi's Barnyard starts like many other FNAF games just like it, with a newspaper clipping. Psych! I just lied to your stupid, ugly face. It doesn't start with a newspaper clipping. It starts with a cutscene. Something I know I tend to do frequently when talking about cutscenes in games is to criticize the voice acting if I feel like it's bad and takes away from the overall feel of the game. However, this game, as you'll see, is pretty silly in nature, and because of that, I feel like the definitely bad voice acting is actually pretty fitting. Take a listen.
Security guard is really an arbitrary decision to fulfill a legal requirement. Bondi, Grice 40, they're all equipped with a security system capable of tracking down any intruder. They can even hear a person breathing within a 50-meter radius.
What about the cow?
Coo the cow is different in that she is designed to care for a child who has lost their parents. She will keep them closer until the parents return.
Excuse me, but this all seems a bit excessive for a children's establishment.
Well, even though the animatronic security system is very hands-on, they wouldn't be able to kill an adult.
What about a child?
Oh shit, he able to kill the fuck out of a child. Gulp! Alright, after that silly little goofy cutscene insinuating that the robots could 100% kill a child, which I'm in total favor of, by the way, then we finally get the newspaper about a missing child. How interesting. I know if I saw that headline in the newspaper, I'd be smiling from ear to ear. Child missing. A child's gone missing at Bondi's Barnyard on their own birthday. The child's mother filed a missing persons report to the local authorities. The restaurant claims no wrongdoing, but have doubled their safety precautions and has employed a full-time security guard. Unlike most other FNAF games, Bondi's Barnyard, also known as Bondi's Barnyard Safety Violation, is only one night long, but split into multiple hours. Now, I've mentioned that this game has been hyped up a lot, but why is that, you might be asking? Is it because of the visuals? No. Is it because of the gameplay? No. Is it because of the story? No. Then what could it possibly be, Dxtr? Well, my dear viewer, the answer to that question is likely because you play as the missing child mentioned in the newspaper, and that child is stuck inside of the cow animatronic the entire night. That's really about it as far as I can tell, because in all honesty, I think this game's actual gameplay is pretty weak, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. For now, we're thrown into Hour 1, Fresh Meat, and I can start talking about the threats and the tools at our disposal. And the first tool I want to mention is our camera system and the fact that we just don't fucking have one. You may be wondering how the hell we're going to have an entire FNAF game with no camera system. That's a wonderful question. Let me go ahead and answer it. In front of us, you'll see two doors. You can close them both and flash your light into both. There's also one other thing that you're able to do, that being holding the mouth of the animatronic we're trapped in open so that we're actually able to breathe. You'll be able to tell how close we are to dying due to not breathing based on the percentage we see on the screen on the wall. You may be wondering how in God's dick that screen is showing us that, and the answer to that question is piss in your own mouth and gargle it. Obviously, while you're holding the mouth open, you won't be able to interact with anything else. So just like only open it when you have the time, which I promise you, you will have plenty of, by the way. All right, next thing we're able to do. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I wonder what it could be. Nothing. It's nothing. I've literally just described to you every single mechanic throughout this game. Doors and a reverse Freddy mask. That is literally the entire game. Some people say that this is their favorite FNAF fan game ever made, and I just can't see how. You're going to see throughout this video how mind-numbingly boring this game actually is. One thing I want to mention is this game's version of phone calls. It does something very reminiscent of One Night at Flumpty's 2, that being having the phone call be a song. However, unlike Flumpty's 2, where the phone call song is actually a certified hood classic, the songs in Bondi's Barnyard sound just about as appealing as getting fingered in the bleachers after school by a guy who smells like BO and breathes really hard through his nose and his mouth at the same time.
You are somewhere you're not meant to be. I guess you'll have to settle for the company of me. If the camera sees free song, say cheese. Don't let them put you on your knees.
Wasn't that just awful? Wasn't that just terrible? Wasn't that just dog shit? Wasn't that just horrendous? Wasn't that just amazing? Yeah, I know it was. Anyways, you may have noticed in that little jingle that the guy mentioned something about the camera. You might be asking yourself why he even mentioned the cameras if we can't even look at them. Well, that would be because there is actually a night guard on duty while trapped inside of this robot, which I will be honest is actually a pretty cool concept. However, quite a few plot holes open up because of this, the main one being pretty obvious. However, before I explain that plot hole to you, I should first mention the first threat this night introduces, that being the camera I just mentioned, being able to see it clearly directly in front of you. Occasionally, throughout the night, it will activate. While it is on, if you are to interact with anything, that being the doors, the lights, or the suit itself, the camera will spot you inside the suit and you will die. Now, the plot hole I want to mention is, if we're a child trapped inside of this robot, why the hell would we not make it obvious that we're trapped inside the robot? Like, trust me, I get it that the robot kills us if we let the guard notice us, but like, how would the kid even know that that would happen? I know the phone guy or whatever explained it to us, but in all honesty, I highly doubt the kid was paying any fucking attention to that. Have you ever met a child? Truly one of the most terrible experiences anybody can have. I literally hate them. They're retards. Stupid fucking drool leaking out of mouth ass waste. But Dxtr, you were a child once. Yeah, and my mom is a saint for not dropping me in the dryer and turning that bitch on spin cycle. She has much more restraint than I. Anyways, moving on. There was only one other threat introduced on this night, and that threat is your big fat patty whacker double-decker dick smacker crack whacker poop fapper mother, aka just a fucking robot pig. Does it have a name? Yeah, probably, but I'm not going to waste my time and look it up. I've got complaining to do. The pig's goal is to make it to your left door. Once he gets to the door, just close it until you hear him bang on it. Then you can open the door again. That's it. And there's literally nothing interesting you can do while waiting for him to appear. At least in other FNAF games, during the boring first night, you can at least spam through the cameras. Fucking something interesting, but this game just has nothing. Do you want to see what a majority of this game looks like? Doesn't that just look so fucking fun? Makes me want to slap my mama like the DoorDash driver does to my fucking McDonald's order like a little slut.
So I'm waiting on my McDonald's to get DoorDash to me, and I see the DoorDasher do this crazy shit.
Anyways, before we move on to night 2, we need to talk about the post-night 1 cutscene. Great! As if I wasn't already sitting on my ass doing absolutely nothing, now I get to stick my thumb on my ass and mindlessly stare at a screen even more.
Happy birthday, my child. For your gift, I'll let you go to Bondi's Barnyard.
Okay. I guess we go to Bondi's then.
Hey,
the
you
fuck
look
was that?
sharp as a sausage. I'm building a house.
What is it? Is that just like the little voice box? That
What
little speaker?
material should I use for it?
Well, you're a little piggy, so you should make your house out of bricks, bro. Out of bricks.
Of course.
Yes.
Thank you.
You are so fucking welcome, bro. I've read the story. I know what happens if you don't use those motherfucking bricks. 2 a.m. count sheep. How about you count my balls? 1, 2, and also 3, because one time in high school I landed real weird and one split in half. So wasn't that just an amazing use of my time? I don't know who shot this dog. I don't know who shot this duck's dog in the I don't know who shot this duck's dog in the fucking face right in front of him, but he has no reason to be looking all traumatized like that. Obviously, you could tell what happened in the cutscene since you just saw it, but one tiny detail I do want to point out that you may have missed is the disgusting render of a duck that can be seen during the first fade to black. Pretty cool, I suppose? All right, hour 2, here we go. How are we feeling, everyone? Good? Huh? Huh? No? Pretty bad? All right, fuck me, I suppose. Well, since you guys aren't excited, I'm going to be making you listen to the second call this game has to offer. Truly, some M&M level bars are on the way.
Barnyard safety violation, type 2.
When the clock strikes 2, one threat becomes a crew. Just make sure you check the right door. Otherwise, you might not be prepared for what's in store.
Lovely. My ears only hurt a lot. Thanks for asking. Anyways, what is the amazing threat introduced on this night? Well, have you ever seen Corey in the house? Well, the threat introduced on this night is a sheep. This sheep, in all honesty, adds a mechanic that adds a lot to this game. Probably more than any other character. This single sheep is actually the reason why I decided to make a white video on this game. I was thinking of what game to talk about next, and I've had this one on the back burner for so long just because of how fucking boring it is. But then I remembered this sheep and the absolutely extraordinary unique mechanic he introduces. Listen to this. He walks to the right door and you have to close it. I fucking lied. He's just a fucking pig. God damn it. You really honestly thought I was about to reveal a mechanic so mind-boggling that I have to gracefully wipe my nuts across a cactus? Absolutely not. The only thing this game reminds me of is the massive shit I took earlier. Like, guys, I'm literally not even playing around at all. This is actually the only thing introduced on this night. And the night is still slow as hell, too. Do you want to watch this entire night? Because I'm about to show it to you in 10 times speed. Literally absolutely nothing is going on in this damn game, bro. I'm sitting here, day in my hand, ready to start cranking my shit, but there's not even any hot animatronics for me to oogle over. I quite literally have no material to work with for this video. I'm trying my damn hardest since I've been getting asked to make a video on this game for months at this point. Damn, guys, I'm struggling. Why do you like this game? Anyways, let's move on to the post-hour 2 cutscene.
Hey there!
Hi.
Would you want to be my little shepherd for today?
No, you are British. You are British and bad.
Could you count all of these sheep?
One, motherfucker.
That's right.
Oh,
There's
fuck yeah.
one sheep.
Goddamn
Thank
right
you
it's
so,
right.
so
You
much.
goddamn
Have
right
a
I'm right,
continued
bitch.
Happy birthday.
That fucking happy birthday. Don't happy birthday me, bitch. Who the fuck you think you talking to? Like, actually, what the hell is even that, bro? We got asked to count sheep, then motherfucker puts one sheep on the screen. It's like the devs of this game really wanted to put something interesting after each hour, but once they got around to actually doing it, they realized how much of a pain in the ass that would actually be, so they just shit on a plate and fed it to us. Anyways, on to hour 3. Hopefully something interesting is actually introduced this time around. By the way, I'm just now realizing that I've never actually explained where the hell we are in the building. We're of course in a cow animatronic, like I've already said. So your stepmom, since your mom is the pig. So obviously that means we're in the ice cream room or whatever. What is the ice cream room? I have no idea. Here's the phone call, dick lips.
When the clock turns 3, there might just be another friend whose skull is your end. A door won't put up a proper fight. To fend this guy off, you must use the light.
All right, well, if it wasn't obvious from that phone call what the threat introduced on this night is going to do, strap in, because it's gonna take a long time for me to explain it to you. Everybody ready? Yeah? Yeah? Got a snack? A little bit of a drink, some meat in hand. What? Pause. All right, cool. Once this old fucking geezer with a name I don't know appears at your door, just hold the light on him and he'll go away. That's it. That's all you have to do. Third character introduced, and still the only mechanic is basically doing nothing. I'm actually so serious when I ask the question of who the hell could possibly like this game. It's literally one of the most boring FNAF games I've ever played. And if you keep up with my second channel, Dxtr Black, then you'd know I play quite a lot of terrible stinkers over there. Yet for some reason, people won't stop telling me how awesome this game is. It's not awesome at all. I'm fucking hating talking about this. Yet I'm having fun complaining about it at the same time. So I really have to ask myself the question if it actually bothers me that much. I'm convinced this game had to be the first game the dev ever made because it just reeks of rookie, stinks of a my first project. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with your first project as a game dev not being the most amazing and polished thing you've ever seen. But I really want to be clear here, okay? My frustration isn't with the game itself, but more so with the incredible amount of people that have been wanting to hear me talk about it. Like, are you having fun hearing shit about this game? Like, honestly answer that question. Really think about it. Are you really having a good time watching this video? Or are you just having fun hearing me read a bunch of random slop I wrote down to pad out the runtime so that this video isn't literally 4 minutes long because this game has nothing to work off of? I'm actually just noticing as I'm writing this that I've actually forgotten to mention a character that's been introduced. I forgot which night he actually is introduced on, but something is telling me you guys really don't care about the specifics since I'm willing to bet a good majority of you are sleeping right now. Actually, you want to test that theory? Let's take a look. Ah! Morning, sunshine. Anyways, the next threat introduced is that goofy little duck guy that we see in the post-night cutscenes. Unironically, this guy is actually somewhat interesting. That is, for this game standards, not FNAF standards in general. He sort of acts like the Foxy of this game, mainly just because he has a charge mechanic, not because he really plays like Foxy. Again, remember, no cameras here. At complete random, that screen that keeps track of our death timer will randomly turn on and show the path that runs across the floor of the room we're in. You'll be able to see the duck running across this path. Depending on which direction is shown, you will have to close the corresponding door before the duck literally throws its entire body into it like your mom throws her entire body into the Make-A-Wish kid standing in line at the Golden Corral. So there we go. Now I've covered everything that's happened in the game so far. And with that, let's move on to the post-hour 3 cutscene / minigame that never ends up being an actual minigame because it's just a cutscene and then you click once, and calling that a game is a little bit generous.
Welcome to Bobby's Barnyard. I got something here just for you. Blow out whenever you're ready.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, we blew him out.
Look.
Oh shit, oh he's dead. What the fuck? All right, so that cutscene was quite a bit different and more interesting than they usually are. A man died, very based. He had a stupid nose anyway, so that's totally fine by me. And we got to see some more creep shots fade onto the screen, including a crazy back shot. Pause. All right, we've done this 3 times already. How about we go for number 4? Are we ready for another literal fire diss track? The likes of which you've never seen before in your 14 years of life on this planet? Because I know damn well, despite the amount of times I say in my videos that children really shouldn't be watching them, all of you little fucking gremlins keep doing it anyways.
You should know exactly what's in stock. Now and it's 4 o'clock.
All right, so clearly MC Retard is running a bit low on music material. That's fine. Let's move on to talking about the new threat this hour introduces, and that would be a total of 0 because nothing new was added on this night. However, it is technically harder than the previous night for one main reason. The characters attack much more frequently. At least 1 attack every 10 seconds or so. While this still doesn't make the game hard by any means, at least now the gameplay isn't just So yeah, get ready to be attacked by Freddy Krueger once every 10 seconds for like 7 minutes. I'm sure you'll be able to handle it just fine. We've handled worse on this channel, right? Let's do some reminiscing. This game has put me through so much bullshit! I've been holding back way too much! I think I'm gonna fucking explode! Like a toddler, a little super baby, a little significant brain doesn't skull fuck you. No fucking shit, we're gonna take the juice, you dumb bitch! I swear to God, intelligence is chasing the squirrel, but she's just so much faster. How about you go find my nuts? Yeah. Great times we've had on this channel, huh? I'm glad you and I can just be happy all the time, never upset, constantly having a great time, never complaining about anything. Just plain old ignorant bliss all the time. Like this stupid looking cat. I love that guy. Anyways, on to talking about the post-hour 4 cutscene. Let's take a peek, shall we?
Hello, I'm Coo the cow, and is something wrong? Don't worry. Whatever it is, I'll protect you.
Ooh.
I promise.
Yeah, I think I'm stuck in you right now, bro. I'm digging in you. Literally the exact same expression when I catch a glimpse of my homie's hog in the shower. The only thing missing is a bit of drool, a little saliva. Editor, add in some saliva here to make it a little bit more realistic. Yeah, that's what we like to see. You get paid to do this. How does that make you feel, little piglet? Anyways, on to hour 5. Hour 5 acts as this game's boss fight night, introducing a character that does exactly what you'd expect, taking the roles of every character we've seen so far and just being so unrealistically fast that it completely breaks the immersion of the entire game. His name is, I fucking lied to you, dumbass. Nothing new was actually introduced on this night and all of the characters are just faster. To give credit where credit is due, this night actually is a tad bit challenging, but that doesn't change the fact that the gameplay loop of this game is hands down probably the most boring shit I've ever played in my entire life. I played it over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, over 6 months ago, so I literally don't even remember what I was doing during a lot of the sections of this game where nothing is happening, which, by the way, if you needed a reminder, is a majority of the game. After completing night 5, we get one more news clipping. It reads, "Missing child has been found deceased inside restaurant. It went lost. The child had somehow climbed inside a robotic mascot, where it later suffocated to death early in the morning. Police are investigating the night guard that somehow didn't realize that child was in the building, slowly dying the entire night." So yeah, the child we played as still fucking died. All of that mind-numbing work just for the kid to die anyways. Love it. And you might be thinking, well, Dxtr, that's just a bad ending. The good ending has the kid survive. But little did you know, you're actually more wrong than people that think the word stuff in Oreo's double stuff has 2 F's. It just doesn't. And this game, it just doesn't have a good ending. Or a bad ending for that matter. This is literally the only ending that you can get. And the child dies, which honestly sounds like a happy ending in my book anyways. Now, truth be told, that's not all this game has to offer. There are a plethora of custom night challenges to try out, including 5 additional characters that will be added throughout them. Now hold up, you're telling me that this game had 5 additional characters and none of them were used in the base game? Why? Don't get me wrong, I'm very aware that plenty of other FNAF games do this, Chuck E. Cheese Rebooted, FNAF Showtime, and Freddy's Reanimated to name a few, but the difference between those games and this one is that those games all had a base story mode that was actually interesting to a point where they didn't need more characters, and the extra characters were just something fun to add on top of it. Bondi's Barnyard did not have that. I feel like they really should have used these characters throughout the main hours of the game to stop their players from committing seppuku. But hey, here we are, so let's quickly talk about all of them. The first guy to bring up is Pablo the Frog. His mechanic is very simple, but actually makes that pretty much arbitrary air percentage actually important. The air percentage goes down so slow that you very seldom have to think about keeping it up. Pablo fixes that problem. Occasionally, Pablo will play a little jingle. Shortly after, his face will appear, and if your air isn't at least 75%, he's gonna start bouncing your butt like a basketball. And I really don't think you want that. The next character to talk about is Tori the Bull, and it's with this character where we begin to notice that the devs were really pulling anything out of their asses while designing these extra characters. Tori will have 2 red flags on both sides of your screen that are raised. If they ever fall, you will have to click them to make them go back up. If you don't, he's gonna make you spin on his dick like a BBC tornado. Shout out Zigbay. Up next, we've got Grizzly, or as the wiki calls him, Bjorn, but the wiki also calls him Grizzly, so I don't know what his name is. I'm not even gonna waste time, bro. He's just a close the door character, except he can attack both doors. Incredibly lackluster and boring. Next, this is Mother. Say hi. Anyways, she's somewhat interesting, just kind of annoying. She's another door character, except you will have to close the opposite door she appears at because she's blind, and that will confuse the door that's closed for being the door she's at. I'm not kidding, by the way, that's the reasoning given by the wiki. Finally, we've got Jeeb the Goat, easily being the most interesting character in the entire game. He will be in the room with you the entire night. At random, he will lift his head up and look left or right. During this time, you cannot click on the side of the screen that is in his line of sight. This would mean no dealing with that side's door or that side's Tory flag. You will have to click his head to deactivate him, but if you don't do it fast enough, he's gonna break your back like Kung Lao. And there we go. That's every additional character added in the custom night. And with that, that's all Bondi's Barnyard safety violation has to offer. Originally, I wanted to hold off even longer on making this video since there's actually a second game being worked on called Bondi's Barnyard Roots. However, the announcement for it was made in 2023, 3 years ago, and it's still not released. However, the dev is still posting teasers for it as early as a month ago, and in all honesty, the game is looking pretty solid and much more interesting than the first, so I am excited to cover it when that comes out. Overall, I think Bondi's Barnyard is incredibly overhyped. I was expecting literal peak when I heard the way people were talking about this game, only to open it up and spend most of my Dxtr Black videos commentating because this game literally had nothing to go on during it. I think there's a lot of stuff this game could benefit from, namely cameras, so there could be some more variety in mechanics. I honestly don't think the story is terrible. I think having a bad ending forced is actually pretty interesting, and it does make the anticipation for the second game just all the more interesting. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think Bondi's Barnyard is actually the best FNAF fan game to ever grace the community? Let me know in the comments below. In my Five Nights at Fangs video, I asked you guys what you thought the most infuriating FNAF game was and why, and my favorite answer was this one by Mason Burns. They said Sister Location, and I completely agree, but not for the same reason they said. I just fucking hate that game, and it's dog shit, but that's really a topic for another video. Those Nights at Rachel's. That is the game we'll be talking about today. Am I excited to talk about this? Originally, yes, I was. It's a classic, and surprisingly, a classic I had actually never seen before. Made by Nixon, also known for this little FNAF game. I'm not totally sure if you've heard of it. It's kind of a little bit under the radar, you know, kind of a little bit underground, you could say, called The Joy of Creation. I was pretty excited to see what this game had in store for me, and then I played it. And after playing it, I can say I honestly thought there would be more to talk about. Expect a shorter video today, because when I tell you that this game is literally a bunch of nothing, I'm not lying. Strap in and get ready to dive into the very small world of Those Nights at Rachel's. Those Nights at Rachel's takes place in a restaurant called Doug's and Rachel's. We play as a newly hired night guard. I'm sure you would have never been able to figure that out. Yes, in fact, we do surprisingly play as a security guard in this Five Nights at Freddy's game. I know that's pretty out of the norm for a FNAF game, but hey, Those Nights at Rachel's was really trying to reinvent the wheel here, break the mold. Let's jump into the first night this game has to offer and really start going over a few of the major flaws I noticed. To start, the office is massive. We've got 2 big doors, pretty standard, and we've got 2 monitors, one for your cameras and the other for your door buttons, and a display which shows how much power you have remaining. Finally, there's a spare room off to the side that has some curtains, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But to start, I want to talk about what I personally feel is this game's biggest flaw. The majority of the things in Those Nights at Rachel's are redundant or not useful at all. I could explain every single reason right now, but I think it would be better to explain these problems as they become relevant naturally throughout the game. To start, let's talk about how the door monitor is actually useless completely. Now, you might be thinking, how could the monitor that allows you to close the door be useless? That's like literally the main mode of defense in a lot of FNAF games. Well, here's where we get to talk about something really cool, and something in retrospect I'm not a huge fan of in FNAF games. Keybinds. Keybinds in most games serve to make the experience more comfortable for the user, and in a lot of cases, even in FNAF games, they can be used properly and work effectively. For example, Rachel's uses keybinds in a very good way, that being movement. While playing Those Nights at Rachel's, you'll see several arrows, and it may even look a bit overwhelming. Clicking these arrows will transport you around the office, whether that be turning, traveling to another room, peeking around a corner, or hiding under your desk. Ignoring the fact that these arrows are always present, which could lead to confusion as to when certain actions can be performed, with all of these buttons on screen and the fact we're in a 3D environment, adding keybinds for movement was a very smart idea, as you can use WASD to turn and move and E to peek around corners. This is a very good example of keybind integration into a FNAF game. Now it's time to talk about a very poor integration of the keybinding. Using the Z and X keys, you can shut the two doors in your office. Now, I want to be very clear that that mechanic by itself is not inherently a bad thing. Binding doors to a key on the keyboard can work. I think it worked well in a game like Ultimate Custom Night. However, here's the big difference between Ultimate Custom Night and Those Nights at Rachel's. UCM keybinds work not only because a large focus of the game's mechanics centralize around keybinds, actively making keybinding a mechanic of the game itself, but without keybinds, the game would probably be completely impossible. While yes, a lot of the things could be controlled solely by your mouse in UCM, it's also not possible to do multiple things at once with your mouse like is required by UCM. So in that case, I think keybinding works and is good. Those Nights at Rachel's uses keybinding in a way that makes an otherwise interesting mechanic completely useless. You will never have to look at the second monitor in your office throughout your entire playthrough. Adding keybinds to the doors has made it useless, and that's what I mean. And that's the pattern you're going to notice as we continue to talk about the game. Mechanics making other mechanics useless. This is, in my opinion, the prime example of this in Rachel's. But we'll talk about a few more as we go on. On night one, we get a phone call from a teenager who sounds like he's about to neck himself.
Hello and welcome to your new job at Doug's and Rachel's.
Before transferring us to a live call with the manager of the establishment.
Hello? Hello? Are you there?
At first, that might sound cool. Popco's did a somewhat similar mechanic where you could interact with the phone guy by asking a question at the end of the call. Rachel's doesn't do that, it just acts as a normal phone call, but you know, that's really nitpicky. We're told the basics of how the nights are going to play out. We're told point blank that the animatronics move around and that we will need to close the doors to defend ourselves, something that isn't typically seen in FNAF games. Transparency? That's nuts. Except not really, because after almost letting out the words saved my life, the phone guy chooses instead to say saved my job. So, I mean, not completely transparent, but you know, I guess that's progress. It's also during this phone call where we learn that recently a newer restaurant has been destroying the reputation of Rachel's, that restaurant being Freddy Fazbear's. Now, here's an interesting question. What could have possibly happened at Freddy's that would have made another establishment with robots look bad? Oh yeah, maybe death. Yeah, that'd do the job. I would love to keep talking about the night one phone call, but there's this really funny and quirky moment that happens during it. Something about Rachel's is that the nights are really short. So, and I'm not kidding, the phone call is literally cut short in the middle of a sentence because the night ends.
Sanitary and rude, but customers are customers. We don't need them.
Is this guy gonna shut the fuck up?
Hello and welcome to your new job at Doug's and Rachel's. We have the best animatronics and food available at the
What?
lowest prices.
What the fuck?
Straight up guaranteed. Since this is your first night at the job.
Okay. I guess that's night one. What can I say? This is absolute peak cinema, and I've never seen anything better before in my life. But enough about the boring shit. What about what actually happens during the night? Well, if you were hoping for anything at all, put that thought away because literally nothing happens at all. And it's not even for a lore interesting way like FNAF 3, where nothing happens on night one because Springtrap isn't even in the building yet. No, animatronics move on night one in Those Nights at Rachel's, but they just never make it to your office, something that I promise you will be a common trend throughout your playthrough. But let's talk about the animatronics that activate on night one. Literally every single fucking one aside from two. Now relax. that may sound intimidating, but keep in mind, I said you will never get attacked on this night. The only two characters that aren't active are Pete and Bane. However, I'm not going to explain the mechanics of each character that is active on this night right now to save you all from blowing your brains out. Instead, I'll just introduce characters as I talk about the nights and space them out a bit. Let's talk about the two characters you'll probably see the most, Rachel and Doug, the two faces of the restaurant. I really want to start by talking about Doug, since you will really be seeing him a lot. And I do want to preface that a lot is subjective for this game, since, no fucking joke, I probably had an animatronic reach my office less than 10 times throughout my entire playthrough. That's how much fucking nothing happens during this game, by the way. Doug does what you think a first active animatronic would do. Wanders around the building and eventually makes it to your office. If he gets to your door, you can check by peeking around the corner and flashing your flashlight, which I will admit does look pretty cool. And I think that having to peek him like a game of Valorant is actually a really interesting idea. Too bad I only got to do it about 4 fucking times. Obviously, just close the door and he leaves. Now we can talk about Rachel, except no we can't because she's literally just Doug. She does the exact same thing with no difference. I'm so happy I'm alive. I'm actually pretty sure that throughout my entire playthrough, never once was I attacked by Rachel. You know, the main fucking character in the game. I never saw her aside from in the cameras. Oh, and speaking of the cameras, they are a whole nother issue in and of themselves. They're worthless. Kind of, pretty much. Now, to be fair, I'm aware this game was made really early on in terms of FNAF fan games. So to a degree, you can excuse mechanics not being perfect. But even in the original game, the cameras had a use. Now, I want to make it clear that yes, technically they aren't completely useless. With how infrequently the characters seem to move, it might as well be useless. So let's talk about this game's camera forcer. This game's Foxy, Ray the raccoon. Ray, quite literally, is just Foxy. Starts on one camera, has multiple different phases he'll move through before charging at your office and killing you. The way to stop him is easy. Just look at the cameras. I'm not sure if he cares about you watching him specifically or just checking if you're on the cameras in general, but it honestly doesn't matter which one it is because he's the only character on the cameras that even matters, so you should probably just have your camera on him all the time anyways. Dxtr, you literally just explained how the cameras aren't worthless, yet you still called them worthless. Why? Why did you do that? That doesn't make sense. It really sounds like you're just being negative for the sake of being negative. While I personally never once saw Ray attack throughout the entirety of my playthrough, you do not have to check on Ray very frequently. Yes, if you never open the cameras, he will more than likely attack you, but even if you just check the camera once every 30 seconds, he's not gonna get you. I don't think looking at the camera for 1 second every 30 seconds is making use of the cameras. A game you could easily compare this to is Five Nights at Freddy's 1, a game that has you do pretty much the same thing. Really just opening the cameras without doing much of anything on them. And while I agree that the cameras in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 are generally useless, there's at least a few useful mechanics that can come from them. For example, we all know that your right door camera is really the only camera that matters, with the occasional check to Foxy to see what phase he's on. You could argue that having to look at 2 cameras rather than just one, like in Rachel's, already makes FNAF 1's camera system more useful, but I feel like that might be grasping at straws a bit. There is one other mechanic that the cameras have that can actually be pretty useful in a small handful of situations, that being forcing Foxy to attack faster using the right hall cam. When Foxy leaves Pirate's Cove, there's a range of time it will take for him to be at your right door. However, you can force the attack to happen sooner by checking the right hall camera, which can be nice if, for example, Bonnie is already at your door and you want to get the Foxy attack out of the way during that time, something I like to take advantage of during stressful modes like 420. I have to be transparent for a moment and mention that there very well might be a mechanic like the right hall mechanic in Rachel's. However, like I've already stated, I've never got attacked by Ray in my playthrough, so I never really got the chance to check, and the wiki doesn't explicitly mention anything like that either, so if it does exist, I walk back my criticism. However, something that you can't neglect is just that. I never got attacked. The cameras are somewhat useful in FNAF 1 because you can do something and you will be attacked by your camera animatronic. There is no FNAF playthrough where you're not attacked by Foxy. There are playthroughs where you're not attacked by Ray, and that's where the real issue actually lies. Anyways, let's move on to night 2, which introduces Pete and the Thing. Let's start with Pete. He's Doug, except he goes to your other door. However, this does bring up another mechanic that would be interesting if it was actually ever useful: hiding under your desk. Only one door in your office can be closed at a time, so what happens if 2 animatronics attack your doors at the same time? Well, first of all, that's never gonna happen. You don't get attacked frequently enough, but even if it did, that's where hiding under the desk becomes important. If 2 animatronics are at your doors, you close one of them and hide under the desk until the other leaves. But now hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right. If hiding under the desk can make the animatronics at your doors go away, do you even need to close the doors in the first place? Well, to my understanding, no. You don't need to close the doors for the door animatronics. You can always just choose to hide under the desk. Excuse me? You've just made an already semi-useless mechanic even more useless by designing another mechanic that solves the same problem without using up power. So the only time you actually ever need to close the door is when Ray is coming to your office, but we've already established that Ray is probably never going to attack you. So you literally never have to close the doors in a FNAF game. What? Okay, so that's pretty stupid. What about the other character on this night? The Thing. Maybe he'll be interesting. No. Hate to break it to you, but the answer is no. The Thing attacks from the curtain room. Throughout the night, the curtains will slowly open. If they open all the way, the Thing will come out and kill you no matter what, since not even hiding will be able to save you, and there's no door to the room he comes from. So every once in a while, you'll have to run to the other room and close the curtains. How frequently do you have to do this? Well, on night 2, doing it once every hour will be enough, but with the lack of movement speed from any of the characters, even on the hardest nights in this game, you will have more than enough time to go over to the curtain and close it. You know it's sad when what I just explained to you is the most difficult threat in the entire game. Throughout the phone calls so far, it's been made clear that the goal of ours and the phone guy is to get a promotion, and the night 3 phone call continues that narrative. The phone guy mentions that the owner of the establishment has gone missing, and that the only reason that bothers him is that nobody can get a promotion unless he's present. So that's obviously concerning for that reason. It's revealed that the owner doesn't want to be tied to the establishment anymore, and I find that a bit weird. I get that Freddy has had a shady past, but from what I understand so far, this place doesn't, at least not directly. That's really all that's important from the phone call, so we can talk about some of the new threats on this night. Let's start with Bane. Fun fact, it's just Pete with a costume on. He does the exact same thing. Also, want to hear something crazy about night 3? From this point forward, it is literally impossible for Rachel to reach your office for the rest of the game. Which means she was only ever able to reach your office on nights 1 and 2. But the craziest part? The chances of her ever reaching your office on nights 1 and 2 are borderline impossible because of how infrequently the characters move on the early nights. Which means there is a very probable chance that you will not see the main fucking character of the game throughout the entire game. What the fuck kind of logic is that? And that's really it. Something I didn't mention about Bane, by the way, is that during this night, it is borderline impossible for him to make it to your door, so you never have to worry about him either. We love video game balancing over here on the Dxtr White channel. Night 4's phone call actually has some substance to it. Apparently, the boss is still missing and nobody knows where he is, which now apparently means we won't even get paid for the week we've been doing. Phone guy mentions possibly having corporate find another boss, a better one that would give us the raise we wanted. Phone guy mentions he was snooping around in the back room and found an unlocked phone in a drawer that was apparently the boss's. He says he wasn't able to look through it for long because another employee found him snooping around. The only thing he could see was that the phone had something about an old factory or pizzeria on it. Who really cares about any of that though? Are you ready for the most fun you've ever had playing a FNAF game in your entire life? Well, let me introduce you to night 4, where you'll probably have an animatronic at your door a total of 3 fucking times. Maybe 4 if you're lucky. By the way, I know I'm going to get comments about this, but yes, I am aware about the hard mode version of this game, which, as the name suggests, makes the game harder. However, even in the more difficult version of this game, Night 4 is when it really starts to get difficult, except for one super funny problem. There's a bug in the code that prevents both Rachel and Ray from ever attacking unless the power goes out, which means the cameras are literally useless because Ray will never run to your office, so you can just hide under the desk the entire game and occasionally pull the curtains closed. The only other threat in this night is Pete and Bane, but they both attack the right door. Something funny though is that they can't appear in your right doorway if you're looking at it, so you don't even need to hide under the desk. You can just look at the fucking doorway and they won't come. Granted, if they do get to your door while you're closing the curtains, you only have about 5 seconds to react and close the door or hide under the desk, but still, holy shit, how the hell is hard mode so goddamn easy? Night 5's phone call has some honestly pretty interesting reveals. It's clear that the message we're hearing was meant to be sent to the boss, who we find out's name is Phil, clearly establishing that the phone guy still has contact with him despite his disappearance. However, it's also clear that the phone guy doesn't know where Phil went. Phone guy mentions doing something else to sabotage the business down the street, referring to Freddy's. He says they've already had one incident, so making another one happen is sure to work, which would lead one to believe that they're suggesting they caused whatever the original incident that happened there was, or that they're just wanting to cause another one. When the idea was shot down for bringing a bad rap to animatronics in general, Phone Guy says that he really messed up this time, which would lead me to believe that he had already chosen to do something. It's at this moment that the Phone Guy mentions that they've got us, the character we play as, quote, tied up in our strings. So that's awesome. Thanks, Guy. I thought we had something special together, but clearly I was just a piece of eye candy for you to oogle at all day. I thought you loved me. Anyways, the phone guy asks Phil if he's actually going to give us that promotion we apparently were promised. And he says he'd be willing to make up a lie to tell us to make sure that promotion never happens. And in all honesty, the moment I heard that shit, I would have walked right out of that goddamn building. My feelings are crushed, Guy. I'm a person too, you know. Night 5 still has the problem of both Rachel and Ray not being able to attack you. The bug carrying over to the non-hard mode version of this game as well now, so that's awesome. Even easier. Perfect. Nothing of interest to talk about here except for what happens after you complete the night. After finishing off Night 5, we get a cutscene inside of what I could only assume to be our bedroom, which for some reason has Rachel's posters on the wall. A little weird, bro, but you do you. We hear a knock at our door, and on the other side we get fucking reamed by the thing, only to wake up inside of the office once again. Apparently just being a bad dream, maybe. Or who knows? Maybe even a premonition of what's to come. Ooh, spooky! But that's really all those nights at Rachel's has to offer. A boring, monotonous gameplay loop that's enough to make me want to rather play with my own skin flute with a cheese grater. It, for some reason, helped shape the fan game scene to what it is today. Does the game look great? Yes. Are the designs good? Of course they are. But can I in all honesty say that the game itself is good? No. No, I cannot. But what about the second game? Oh boy, is that a whole nother bag of worms to dive into? Fuck it, this video has been short so far, so let's soothe our minds and talk about Those Nights at Rachel's 2 Reloaded. To start, no, this game, technically speaking, is not official. Oh, wait. Oh, shit. It's actually been endorsed by Nixon? So, okay, fuck, I guess it is canon. This game was not made by Nixon and was posted on April 1st of 2017, originally designed to be just that, an April Fool's joke. But due to Nixon not wanting to officially continue the series, he decided to jokingly make it canonical to the official lore. Just looking at the title screen of Rachel's 2 would lead you to believe it would be a normal FNAF experience, but in fact, it's not a FNAF experience at all. Pressing play, we load into an office where we can actually walk around. But before you can really get a good feel for your surroundings, we pull out the blicky and shoot the fuck out of one of the robots. What the fuck? What the fuck is this? That's right. Rachel's 2 is a horde-based survival shooter game. With waves of enemies approaching your office, you'll have to pop caps in each and every one of their asses. Each character having its own mechanic, with Doug being your everyday basic zombie, Rachel taking 2 shots to kill, Ray being tiny and running at light speed, and the fucking bull taking about 800 bullets to kill. And of course, there are more characters that I never experienced in my playthrough because this game can honestly get pretty damn hard. Would I recommend you play the second game? No, probably not. But if you want a good laugh and just want to have some retarded fun, then I think Those Nights at Rachel's 2 is definitely something you should give a try. Overall, it's very clear Those Nights at Rachel's has forever left an impact on the FNAF genre. And even though I think, generally speaking, it's pretty bad, I can't deny that it is a classic and a fan favorite, and has greatly helped in growing the very community I care so much about today. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? Or is Those Nights at Rachel's actually the best FNAF game ever designed by anyone ever? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. In my 5 Nights at Frederick's video, I asked you guys what the first FNAF Max mode you completed was. My favorite answer is this one by Wonderland VR. They said Ultimate Custom Night, and fucking excuse me? Your first ever Max mode was the hardest official Click Team Max mode that exists? That's nuts, can't even lie. When I'm looking for FNAF games to cover, I usually look for a few baseline things, a few bare minimums. However, I do also look for games that have a bit of a goofy aspect to them. For example, the fact that 5 Nights to Remember literally has Gooner bait built into it. I think stuff like that is pretty funny, so it's definitely something I look for when determining which games are going to get a Dxtr White video. The game I've played recently started fairly normal with a gameplay loop I enjoyed. However, near the end, something happened that was so completely out of left field, I was at a loss for words. What the fuck am I looking at? What the fuck? I'm very excited to talk about this game as I had a very fun time playing. So sit back and enjoy the ride as we dive nuts first into animatronic memories. Animatronic Memories starts as many official FNAF games do, that being showing a newspaper clipping asking for a security guard to monitor the building at night. Excited, jumping for joy, and kicking our feet and shit, we accept the offer and start our first night on the job. Entering our new office, we look around and notice that this place is clearly not very normal. Able to look in 3 directions, directly in front of us we have our computer, which lets us view our cameras. To our right, we see the door to our office, and to the left, we have a large window. Something I've never really understood about some buildings is why they have windows to other rooms in the building. I'm no architect, but that just doesn't really make sense. I don't know what possible purpose it could realistically serve. Also, this one has a fucking door on it. Fantastic. This game doesn't use a power system. Side note, I am so glad more FNAF games are choosing to move away from the power mechanic. I personally never found it very enjoyable, so I appreciate that many games are choosing to remove it so that your strategy can focus more on nerve control and skill rather than balancing a number. In a game where my only 3 actions are checking lights, closing doors, and watching cameras, boy do I sure love it when a central gameplay mechanic is limiting how much of those actions I'm allowed to do. It's so much fun. But anyways, since this game doesn't use power and there are 2 doors, I was curious how this game would pull that off. Let's begin with the window door. This one is very easy. If you're not holding the door down manually, it will automatically rise. Simple. Now let's turn our attention to the much more interesting door, the one that's actually a door. This door, you'll notice, has 3 fuses that connect to it. Just like 5 Nights at Candy's, the longer you have a door closed, the higher the meter beneath it will rise. But unlike Candy's, this game actually used the mechanic in a much better way. If your meter is to increase fully, one of your fuses will break and the meter will reset. If you lose all 3 fuses, you will no longer be able to close the door, and the animatronics will very quickly close the gap on you and very quickly close your mouth so you don't make too much noise when they're obliterating your guts like iDubbbz obliterates his reputation. And that's really all you need to know to be able to play this game. All the mechanics are incredibly simple, which I think a lot of people could agree with me when I say that's a breath of fresh air, especially when it seems like every new FNAF release is just trying their best to get on the max mode list. But anyways, on to the threats that this night introduces, that being Bonnie and Chica. Let's pause for a moment. I want to really take the time to appreciate these character designs. Not only are they creepy, not only are they gorgeous, but they're also extremely uncanny. Looking at these characters just makes me uncomfortable in a very unique way. Especially Chica, like fucking ew. Anyways, let's start with Bonnie. Bonnie does exactly what you'd expect him to. He starts on the show stage, randomly walks around the cameras, and eventually lands at your door. Which again, with the way these characters look, it's just really fucking uncomfortable looking, which I love. All you need to do is close the door and you're a-okay. He'll pound on the door and you can reopen it. Chica is much the same, except she's fatter. Since these two are really just here to teach you the basics, beating the night is very easy. But before we can move on to night 2, we get the pleasure of talking about the very neat post-night minigames. After each night, we get to play a repairing minigame. I will say, technically speaking, these aren't really games at all, more just a holding down the mouse simulator, but I love little extra things like this. I would have enjoyed them in a game like Jolly as well, but unfortunately for that game, especially Jolly 3 Chapter 1, the minigames there take so fucking long, I'd rather rip out my own catheter than ever play them. However, in this game, they're short, sweet, and pretty fun for what they are. We're always tasked with replacing a piece of whatever animatronic is given to us. On night 1, that's Bonnie. The challenge of these nights, if you can even call it a challenge, come in the form of the character behind us, a ratchet-ass looking female balloon boy who probably has a clussy. What the fuck? Holy fuck! Throughout the minigame, you will hear her making noises behind you, slowly inching closer and closer. When she gets too close, you'll have to quickly whip around and fucking tase her, which I think is just awesome. Afterwards, she'll back up off you, and the cycle continues. Overall, not too difficult, but something extra that I think adds some spice to the game. Something you'll notice about the night sections is that they feel a lot shorter than most FNAF games, and that's because they are. But where the game lacks in length of night segments, it totally makes up for in the form of its 8-bit minigames. Usually, I fucking hate these, but I actually don't mind the minigames found here. Let's go over the post-night 1 8-bit minigame. The purpose of these minigames is exactly what you'd think, that being introducing lore, and of course, sliding in some secrets that allow for a different ending. This game only has 2 of those, thankfully, so I'll be going over the process of getting the true ending right now because no shit. In the first minigame, you play as Freddy. It seems that throughout these minigames, all the characters are preparing for a party. In each minigame, whichever character you play as will have a different task to complete. Freddy's task is being a fat lazy fuck and just talking to the other characters. Wow, Freddy, you're really taking pages out of your toy counterpart's book, huh? Fat lazy piece of shit. Yeah, watch all your coworkers do the work and still take the credit at the end, dick. Anyways, completing the task is obviously not what's important in these minigames, as if you are to complete the tasks, the minigame will end and you won't be able to collect the secret item you need for the true ending. What you should really focus on doing is finding a glitched sprite somewhere around the building. Very similar to going into the glitched areas in FNAF World. For Freddy, the wall will be glitched between 2 tables at the bottom of the map. Touching this glitched area will bring you back to some black space Amori type shit. In this black space, all you have to do is find a Freddy plushie and bring it to one of the crying children. After doing so, you'll be met with a black and white animatic, in which you're in the POV of a kid entering a Fazbear location before getting lured into the back room by a man in a bunny costume. Fuck that molester, bro! Get him out! No, get that fucker out of here, bro. Oh my god. What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh great, I think we all know where this is going. Moving on to night 2, which introduces one new threat. That being Freddy himself, the hulking, titanous, gargantuan ass bear. He attacks the door exactly like Bonnie and Chica, except he does something even more cancerous. He will also attack your door, except he moves through cameras a lot faster than Bonnie and Chica do. And once he reaches your door, he'll enter a lot faster than them as well. Instead of jump scaring you, he does like Phone Guy says and gets a little bit quirky, choosing to reach his hand into your fuse box and immediately break all of them, then jump scare you. Now, as cool as that is, I do have to ask the question, if he kills you after doing this, then why doesn't he just kill you? Don't get me wrong, I love little details like this and I'm not necessarily complaining, but it's a genuine question. I'm assuming the dev just didn't want to have 3 characters appear to do the exact same thing, even though, to be fair, Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy all end up doing the exact same thing, just at various speeds. This is something that could be attributed to laziness, but you have to answer whether you think it is for yourself, and I'll be talking about it a little bit later. Post Night 2 repair needs you to fix up Chica and her cupcake. Ew! Ew! Bro, this bitch is disgusting, dude. Again, this is much the same as the last one. Tootsie, which, yes, by the way, is that clown's name, is more aggressive, but it's still pretty easy to deal with. However, the Post Night 2 minigame is different, and that makes me excited, because, would you believe me if I said this, I will actually enjoy talking about the lore in this game. I know, crazy. Turns out, when I'm told a story where I don't have to spend a billion fucking hours searching for answers, that actually makes it fun. Anyways, in this minigame you play as Bonnie, and the goal of the minigame is to do some sweeping, aka manual labor, something Toy Freddy would avoid at all costs because he's unemployed. But fuck actually doing the task at hand, that's for retards. Instead, we're going to warp the fabric of space and time by touching a busted up table and be teleported directly to hell. Doesn't that sound way better than doing the everyday tasks of a customer service job? Awesome. Well, once you enter black space, all you need to do is find a Bonnie plush and once again give it to one of the crying children. Once again, afterwards, we get a cutscene where we're in the POV of a child, this time being bullied by some fat ass children. Have you guys ever realized that like every bully that's ever existed is about the size of a Ford F-150? Whatever. We get saved by the man in the bunny suit and then immediately get betrayed and murdered. That's right, kids. Not only can you not trust your peers, you can't trust adults either. I guess we should all just give up. Night 3 time. What's the new threat introduced here? And will it have a different mechanic than everything else we've seen so far? This night introduces a fan-made character, something I don't often see when fan games use the official characters. This character's name is Anne, a female Foxy equivalent. Give me Rule 34. What? Who said that? Anyways, she begins on the Pirate's Cove camera next to Foxy. She will, just like Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's 1, move through phases on the camera until she's ready to attack. When she does, you'll be able to see her run off of the Pirate's Cove camera, wherein she will then book it to your window. When she arrives, you will have to quickly close it until you hear her leave. So, hey, something new, kind of, not really, it's just another door, but I guess that's better than nothing. Oh, did I mention Foxy also activates on this night? Well, he does. Wanna know what he does? Disappointingly, it's the exact same thing Anne does, just a lot slower. Isn't that weird? The fast-running Five Nights at Freddy's character is now slow. Like, I know he has a peg leg, so that's obviously making him move slowly, but like, goddamn, why'd you have to butcher my boy like that? He did not deserve it. But yes, as I've said, Foxy does the exact same thing Anne does. I will say that because they move at different speeds, there are some very rare instances where it can lead to some stress while watching their timings, but the odds of this happening are pretty slim, so you probably will never even experience it. That's honestly my biggest problem with this game. It looks amazing, I'm interested in the story, the sound design is fantastic, and you even managed to make me enjoy the 8-bit minigames. But this game has introduced 5 characters so far, and yet somehow, with 5 characters, there's only 2 mechanics to deal with all of them, and both of those mechanics are closing a door and waiting a few seconds. I've tried my best to think about how I can view this positively, but I really just can't. Sure, I personally like it when FNAF games aren't too hard and I can beat them without too much strain, but I can easily see how this game's mechanics could be a turn-off for some people. There's just not enough happening to keep a lot of people interested. We have one character to talk about who switches up the mechanics a little bit, but I still don't even think that's enough. especially given the time this game was released, that being February of 2025. You might question my complaining of this. Dxtr, the original Five Nights at Freddy's only had one mechanic, two if you're being generous and calling Foxy a different mechanic. And to that statement, I'd agree. However, there are 2 points that I have to give to that argument. Yes, FNAF 1 only had 2 mechanics, closing the door and stalling Foxy. However, the first thing you need to acknowledge is that Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was released in 2014 and was a pioneer of an entire genre. It has been 11 years since that game's release. I think it's reasonable to expect newer games in the same genre to have evolved, and for the most part, they totally have. Look at The Joy of Creation, Tycoon Sons Lumber Co., Showman's Awakening. All of these games have added so much to the central idea that is Five Nights at Freddy's. This game just doesn't do that. On top of that, let's dive a little bit deeper into Five Nights at Freddy's 1 for a moment. While yes, the only real mechanic in that game is closing the doors for defense, we need to talk about the synergy between Freddy and Foxy. Foxy requires you to look at your cameras to stall him. If you don't, while yes, you can close the door to keep him out, with every pound your door will lose power dramatically, which incentivizes you to look at him. It seems Scott saw a potential bore in this design, so he made Freddy work the same as the others, but with a twist to synergize. Freddy can't enter your office while your cameras are down, and he's the only animatronic that will never move backwards, meaning that once he's at your door, he will stay there. He's also the only door animatronic that will not break your buttons, so you don't have to close the door while you're in your office. However, on the contrary, he doesn't work the same way the other 2 door animatronics do. You can't see him when the light is on, and at the same time, Chica can be at your door while Freddy is also at it because of this. Because of this mechanic, it's very likely that Freddy will be at your door for most of the night, especially on nights 5 and 6. Since the game forces you to check your cameras to stall Foxy, this leads to you needing to close your door before you check the cameras to not have Freddy enter. This is a good synergy between 2 characters and is why I wouldn't complain about this in that game. In animatronic memories, however, there is no difference between characters that attack the same way like this. Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica all do the exact same thing. Anne and Foxy also both do the exact same thing. Sure, Freddy may break your fuses first, but that doesn't change the fact that he's still doing the exact same thing, just going to your door and killing you. He just happens to have an animation before that happens. Now, is this a bad thing? I think that's more up to a case-by-case basis. While yes, I do feel that it's boring, I still had plenty of fun playing this game and I would still recommend it to people. I just think it's obviously important to point out flaws like this when analyzing a game. Sorry about that tangent. Moving on to the repair minigame. In this one, we're asked with fixing up Freddy, who has some insane crow's feet. Like, holy shit, this guy's old as fuck. But this doesn't change anything from the last 2, so let's move on to the 8-bit minigame. In this minigame, we play as Chica, tasked with collecting ingredients for a cake. Shut the fuck up! I don't care about your bitch-ass task! Let's go to hell! Oh, but before we do that, I should mention that there's an endoskeleton that starts spawning, and if you touch it, you die. So, like, don't do that. Anyways, once we're back in black space, you once again have to get a plushie. This time, doing so is a bit different. You'll see several eyes on the floor. Interacting with them will cause them to close. Once you close all of them, the plushie will spawn and you can give it to the child. After doing so, we're shown another cutscene, this time in the POV of a child who wants a prize from the prize counter. The man in the bunny suit gives us a Chica plush before inviting us to the back room. Once inside, he stabs us, and the last thing we see is our Chica plushie on the floor as we bleed out. So that's sad. Dude, that's fucking cool as shit, bro. That's cool. No, not her, please. Please don't ruin your game. Please don't do it, please. Please, I'm begging you, don't ruin your game. Don't add a music box. Please, 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 for the love of God, don't do it. Anyways, night 4 time. This introduces Harley. What? Who the fuck is Harley? Well, the marionette, of course, duh. The marionette thankfully doesn't work in the way you think she does. No music box to wind because the developer of this game isn't Satan. The marionette has 2 different ways of attacking you, something I think is awesome. I think it's super cool when characters can do more than one thing, and I think it's something I'd like to see more often. Her first attack consists of her attempting to shut down the cameras. When she leaves her box, the camera has a chance to glitch. If it does, you have to quickly find her on one of the cameras and press a newly appearing sound disruption button to make her fuck off. The other option of attack is through your vent. I didn't even tell you guys that we had a vent because it's really never really important. Instead of glitching the cameras, when Harley leaves, she can make a bell noise as well. When you hear that, you will need to quickly check the kitchen camera and shock her ass, because once she enters it, you're gonna be completely done for, as there's no way to stop her once she enters. Oh hey, something new! Fortunately, sound cues were added so she's not completely AIDS, but if you can beat her, which shouldn't be too difficult, we move on to the repair section where we have to fix Foxy, who, holy shit, has seen better days. God damn, what'd they do to you? First a peg leg and now they filleted you? What the fuck? But after that, we can move on to the 8-bit minigame. Hooray! In it, we play as Anne. Who gives a fuck what the task is? Let's go to the black space using another table. Hooray! This black space section is confusing. So confusing, I actually don't even know how I completed it. Basically, as you walk through black space, you'll see several character symbols on the ground. Then, at the end, you can find several symbols that you can change into a sort of code. You might think, oh hey, just input them in the order you saw them. That's what I thought too, but at least when I was playing, that was seemingly impossible. Then I noticed that a few of the squares had a symbol that no other square had. So I tried to see if each square had a unique symbol, but they didn't. Then I noticed there was this dark rabbit symbol that didn't appear anywhere else in black space. So I tried to input that into each square, but that also didn't work because not every square had one. I'm so serious, I have no idea what the intended puzzle is here. I ended up just randomly guessing it, and eventually I got it. I guess set that to Foxy. Set this to Bonnie. Set this to Chica. I literally do not know what I did. I promise you, I literally do not know what I did, but I did it. If you guys have any idea what the intended solution to this puzzle is, please let me know in the comments. But once you get the plush and give it to the child, we take another look at another cutscene. This time, the man just ganks some random ass kid who was just standing there minding their own business and murders them. No motive. Jesus Christ. I'm not going to bother talking about Night 5 since it's just a harder version of Night 4. Additionally, there's no repair section after this night, only being one final 8-bit minigame. In this one, we play as Foxy. Going into black space, we can place all the plushies we've collected on podiums, which will give us the Foxy plush. Placing it on the final podium will spawn one final child and the minigame will end. Being tossed into one final cutscene, we see another kid get shanked to death. Amazing and deserved. Shouldn't have been a child, dumbass. But what about Night 6? Well, of course, as usual, we were told not to come back tonight, but we said fuck it, we ball, and decided to come back anyways. Nobody was present. We enter the office, but get a strange feeling that we're being watched. Night 6 is just a harder version of Night 5, but however, if you got the bad ending by not collecting the plushies in the black space and the 8-bit minigames, this night will be completely different, but we'll cover that later. After completing the night, a literal masterpiece of a cutscene plays out. Seriously, I can't undermine how amazing this cutscene really is. It starts with us standing in front of the arcade machine. Our suspicions are confirmed when Afton comes up behind us and fucks our shit up, knocking us out. Soon after, the arcade game glitches as fuck, and all of the animatronics walk into the back room. And let me tell you, they're itching to serve up a knuckle sandwich. Jesus Christ, cut that out, that's corny as fuck. Afton pulls out a shocking device to fuck with the robots, which shuts them down. Thinking he's won, Afton lets his guard down. That's when the spirits of the children attack him. They loosen a pipe on the wall and break it off. They shove Afton onto it, and as the pipe impales his chest, his lungs fill with blood. He slowly dies, staring at the ones whose lives he so easily took. We wake up to see the souls disappearing, finally able to rest. We leave the building, and animatronic memories comes to a close. That is, if you chose to do the true ending. And even though that final cutscene is actually a cinematic masterpiece, I actually think the bad ending is more enjoyable. Why? Well, if you don't collect the plushies, when you re-enter the building on the overtime night, instead of entering the office, we go into an unknown room with several bags laid on the floor. Opening them up, we find the actual fucking remains of the children. What the fuck? This game is so cool. Caught off guard, Afton kills us. However, before we can pass on, a shadow rabbit pulls us into the darkness and we enter another fucking dimension. What the fuck am I looking at? What the fuck? That's right, the overtime night in this game is different depending on which ending you get, and goddamn, that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. You'll notice that this office is set up in the same way as the normal office, having 3 directions to look in, one your desk, another your door, and the final being your window. Let's go over each threat because there's a few of them. Starting with the shadow rabbit, you'll have to constantly watch your cameras in case he appears on one of them. When he does, you have to press the big goofy ass red button on your desk to make him disappear. And that's really it for him. And that's actually the only reason you ever have to check the cameras. So, how do the other characters add anything of substance? I'm glad you asked. I'm gonna tell you because it's a fucking review, dumbass. You'll also notice on your desk you have 2 masks. Now, if you're anything like me, seeing these 2 things scare you a little, but I promise, the mechanic with these 2 isn't ass at all. Occasionally, you'll see either a fucked up baby clown face or a Ballora looking face appear on your static monitors. Whichever face you see is the mask you will have to put on until the face goes away. Bada bing, bada boom, that's another threat down. Now, the main threats we're being attacked by in the bad ending are the souls of the children, because by not collecting the plushies, we've basically been neglecting them. At your door is where Bonnie attacks. The door starts closed and is closed most of the night, with you actually not even being able to open it. Occasionally, Bonnie will attempt to force it open, and flashing your light at him will cause the door to close. Leave it open for too long, and I bet you can guess what'll happen. Moving back to your desk is where Chica will attack. Chica herself doesn't kill you, but she can be a pain in the ass if you're not ready for her. Right before the hour is about to turn, she'll reach onto your desk to pause your clock. Click her and she'll leave. But you have to be fast. If she manages to pause your clock, you'll have to complete that hour again, making the overall night last longer. This is honestly a mechanic I think is pretty damn interesting. While yes, it's annoying if you don't catch her, the way to beat her is easy enough that it isn't bullshit to deal with. Easy mechanic with a horrific consequence. I love it. Moving to your window is where Foxy and Ann are. Sadly, once again, both do the exact same thing. Occasionally, they'll pound on your window, which is now boarded up by metal bars. All you have to do is hold your flashlight on them and they'll eventually leave. Very basic. Once again, literally identical to Bonnie, just in a different location. Shine your flashlight, they leave. The final threat is Freddy, who, once again, like Chica, can't kill you by himself, but is a big annoyance. Occasionally, he'll jump in front of your face and block your view. You'll have to spam the spacebar to pull him off you and dropkick him through a chain link fence. But after that, those are all the threats. If you can manage to hold off long enough, you'll enter one last cutscene, albeit not as grandiose as the true endings. You manage to escape the grasp of the souls. As you attempt to pass on, you look back and see the souls desperately trying to pull you back into the darkness. Escaping the souls, leaving them behind to suffer forever. You move on to the afterlife and finally fucking die. So yeah, very stark contrast between the 2 endings. I actually felt like there was a major difference, unlike in most FNAF games, which I can definitely appreciate. But with that, as far as I'm aware, that's all Animatronic Memories has to offer. Overall, I think Animatronic Memories is an enjoyable experience. I only got one ending in my playthrough, and I probably wouldn't want to get the other. Not because I don't want to see it, but because of how lackluster the gameplay loop is. With there really only being 2 mechanics, closing doors and shocking the puppet, I don't want to discourage anyone from giving this game a try. It's fun to play, it's an engaging story that's easy to follow, and that is something I can definitely appreciate. But what do you think? Do you agree with me, or do you think that this game is actually perfect in every way? Let me know in the comments below. In my Pop Goes video, I asked you guys what your top 10 favorite FNAF games were, and my favorite answer is this one by Steel Sword 77. I just think that it's a really funny joke comment because nobody in their right mind would say Sister Location is their favorite FNAF game. And let's not even talk about the hilarious joke where he put Ultimate Custom Night above the Glitched Attraction, Return to Bloody Nights, Joy of Creation, and Flumpties. That's just hilarious. Great joke, buddy. Bad fan games. Love them or hate them, you have to admit they can be pretty funny at times. Maybe you like them because of the bad grammar, bad art, bad storytelling, bad voice acting, or just overall bad design. Well, if you're interested in that, rest assured the fan game we'll be covering today has a bit of all of those components, and I'm excited to share them with you. The game in question is Mario and Animatronic Horror. Made by two devs, it serves to be one of the most atrocious fan games ever designed, but it is, in all honesty, one of my favorites. I should note that this game is technically not possible to obtain legitimately and can only be found through websites like the Wayback Machine. This is because Nintendo is the most greedy, grubby company to ever cross this plane of existence. They DMCA'd this game for copyright infringement because it used their characters. So keep in mind, that means that what we're going to see is legally canonical. So enjoy that information as we go along. With that being said, let's jump into Mario and Animatronic Horror. If you're at all familiar with RPG Maker horror games, then a game called Mario the Music Box might ring a few bells to you. Another RPG Maker horror game that uses Mario that is actually pretty good. Let me know if you'd like me to cover it sometime in the future. Mario and Animatronic Horror was actually directly inspired by Mario the Music Box, and it definitely shows. However, as I already mentioned, Mario the Music Box is good. In this game, well, starting the game, we're met to an anime opening for the game. This is where we first notice that the 3D animations in this game are actually surprisingly pretty solid, and are definitely the best parts of these games. But that's immediately downplayed when you use your ears and notice that the opening music is Panic at the Disco, which they also decided to name incorrectly in the credits, saying Panic on the Disco instead. Panic at the Disco? What is this anime opening? What am I watching? After that masterpiece of an opening finished, we're forced to remember that this is, in fact, a horror game, and we're greeted to an opening cutscene. Mario states that he has voices in his head, canonically revealing that Mario is a schizo. Because of these voices, he decides to get a job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Why does he choose this? I have no fucking idea. And with that, we're tossed right into night one. Mario walks into the pizzeria and has an amazing reaction to the animatronics on stage.
Mamma mia, those things are terrifying.
I love the dialogue in this game. If you ever play it yourself, you'll notice that what the voice actors say and what you see in the text boxes on screen almost never match at all. But if you don't feel like playing the game yourself, I totally understand. You can watch my full playthrough on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Mario heads back to the office and receives a phone call from Phone Guy. You may think these phone calls will be important, but you'd be completely wrong. These phone calls are basically just the calls from Five Nights at Freddy's 1, except for some reason they didn't want to use the actual audio from the game, so instead they opted to hire a voice actor to read it, and I guess they also didn't just copy and paste the script from the game, but appeared to try their best to rewrite what was said from memory. I'm not sure what the thought process was here.
Hello? Hello, and welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Magical place where grown-ups alike, where fantasy and fun can come to life.
In this office is also where I found that this specific tile on the wall had no hitbox, so that's pretty cool. Okay. After the call, Mario is understandably scared from being told that animatronics would try to butt bang him and stuff him in a suit. We cut to a short cutscene from the animatronics who, lucky us, also speak. They talk about how familiar we look. Now, from hearing that, you'd probably think that this would be the same misunderstanding from the actual games, where they think we're William Afton because we're wearing the purple security guard suit. However, that wouldn't make sense because Mario is wearing his normal outfit, which the animatronics even acknowledge. So I have no idea where they got the crack they're snorting, but it was clearly laced. Freddy sends Bonnie to go get Mario from the office and give him a rim job. Mario decides to check the cameras and notices that Bonnie has left the stage. However, rather than using his head and checking the other cameras to see where he's at, Mario instead decides it would be a smarter idea if he went out of the office to go look for Bonnie himself. With that, Mario exits the office and begins exploring. Going near Pirate's Cove, Mario finds a key to the back room and sees a classic FNAF hallucination and sharts his pants. Back room key. Oh, what the fuck? With the back room key, he uses it to get into the back room. I don't really know what you expected to happen, but I guess it's a good thing I'm here to hold your hand and tell you these obvious things because you're too brainwashed. Here, maybe if I speak your language, you'll better understand me. Skibidi Riz Edge Mario goons on a guy at Goblin and gets rizzy with it. You understand me now? All right, let's keep moving. In the back room, Mario reads a newspaper clipping going over the missing children's case. It's not long, however, before Mario's ADHD kicks in and he gets bored and decides to leave. ADHD? More like ADHD's nuts, am I right?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Alright. Anyways, when Mario goes to leave, he hears Bonnie approaching, and we get possibly the funniest line delivery I've ever heard in my life.
You can't hide from your buddy Bonnie. I'm gonna hug you till you burst.
Wasn't that the most amazing thing you've ever heard? Yeah, I bet it was. Mario figures it'd probably be a good idea to hide, and I would probably agree with him. This is where you get the first of many decisions. When you make a choice, you could get wrong, get your possible, and you could possible get killed. When you make a choice, the choice could wrong, and you could possible get killed. Where are you going to hide? You can choose either the closet, under the table, or hiding in the Freddy suit on the table. Now, you may be inclined to hide in the most retarded area on the planet, but I would encourage you to not do that. Hiding in the closet is the correct option, but I guess I'll humor you and I'll tell you what happens if you choose the other two options. Let's start with the suit. If you choose to hide in the suit, Bonnie actually won't find you and will leave, which might lead one to believe they made the right decision. But for those of you who are familiar with the FNAF lore, which I imagine is all of you, you'd know that getting into a suit is a pretty bad idea, because Mario ends up getting stuck and spring-locked inside. How'd you get in? Reverse engineer. And you're dead. So good job, buddy. I don't even know why getting inside the suit was an option, given how scared Mario was of getting stuffed inside one. Choosing to hide under the table instead, you would not be surprised to find that Bonnie literally immediately sees you. Because, no shit, that should have been obvious. This is when he grabs you and we get to see another surprisingly good 3D animation, where Bonnie hits us in the dome with his guitar as hard as he can.
I found you.
Oh, damn! Oh, we're dead as fuck, boy. We're dead as fuck. You might think these animations were just found somewhere and imported into the game, but no. As far as I can tell, these animations are actually original to this game, which is actually pretty damn cool. Of course, the closet is the correct choice, so Mario hides in there like a normal person would. Yeah, being gay is pretty safe. Bonnie begins walking around the back room, and even though we hear his footsteps, we're given the choice to peek out. Of course, Mario chooses not to do that because he isn't stupid, and Bonnie eventually does leave, and Mario re-emerges from the closet. As Mario exits the closet, a rusty crowbar appears out of nowhere on the floor and Mario takes it. Heading back to Pirate's Cove, he uses it to open up a crate.
Come on, you stupid crowbar!
Inside the crate, he finds the kitchen key. Now, I think we all know where the kitchen is in the first FNAF game location. This game thought it would be funny to actually not put the kitchen there and instead put it right next to Pirate's Cove. Once in the kitchen, Mario finds a family photo. This is where I should mention the lore of this game sort of follows the original FNAF games, but also says, fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want. This photo seems to show off the Afton family, and you already know Mario decides he needs to pocket that bitch. On the back of the picture is a handwritten note from William himself, naming a son called Nick and another called Kyle, spelled K-Y-E-L, which nobody has ever spelled that way. And no, this isn't just a typo. Kyle is spelled like this throughout the entire game. Boring lore garbage about Kyle enjoying scaring Nick, blah blah blah, bite of 83 bullshit, who cares, let's get to the interesting stuff. Finding nothing else, Mario heads back to the office to check the cameras and notices Foxy isn't in Pirate's Cove. Moments later, checking to see that Foxy is running down the halls. So, Mario does know how to check the other cameras, which means he really did just choose not to check the other cameras to find Bonnie earlier. Here we get a choice to either close the door or hide under the desk. Why the hell would you choose to hide under the desk? Well, it's to see a cool death animation. Oh shit! He slashed my shit up, bro. But obviously we close the door and keep that little bitch out. After almost dying a second time, Mario decides he should leave the office again and continue to look around. So maybe he is an idiot. We head back to Pirate's Cove and find that an arcade machine has randomly appeared. Since Mario is an actual god gamer, you already know he had to pour some hours into whatever game it is we're about to play. Is it Galaga? Pac-Man? Maybe some Donkey Kong Jr.? No, it's actually just a really shitty classic FNAF minigame. I should have figured. In this game, we play as the little baby bitch boy from Five Nights at Freddy's 4, except for some reason his name is Nick, which is just not correct. But whatever. Nick walks into his bedroom and gets absolutely reamed by his brother Kyle, which again, also not his name, but we're just gonna ignore that, I suppose. With the jump scare playing out, the game ends. Mario pretends to be sympathetic for a short moment before forgetting the kid ever existed and walks back to the office where the power then goes out. I could describe to you what happens next, but I think it'd be much funnier if I just let it play out.
Well, I guess that's all the rooms. But I never found the chicken.
Guess you're fucked. Oh shit. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Thank you, Mario. Ooh. Ooh.
Welcome, one and all, it's time to have some fun.
No.
Let's have a party for you, my friend. Hey, don't run away, we want to play with you every night. Hey, buddy, don't run away, it's time to play our happiest day. Now you are trapped in nowhere to hide, no other places you can hide. Hey, just sit back and relax.
What?
You will be nothing but a bloody corpse.
Oh.
And then you'll be in our tomb.
What? It's 6 a.m.
Wasn't that just amazing? You're telling me Beyonce won the Grammy for her shitty country album when this masterpiece existed? God, nobody has any culture anymore. With that, night 1 concludes and we cut straight to night 2 with Mario returning for some reason. Which, by the way, I still really don't know why he's here in the first place. Mario gets back to the office and listens to another useless phone call. We're told the camera doesn't have any batteries and that there are some spares in the kitchen for some reason. And since Mario can't sit in one place for more than 13 seconds, he has to get out of his office and explore what he's already explored. Heading to Pirate's Cove, Mario stumbles right into Chica. Chica threatens him with a good time by offering to put her entire beak into his rectum, but Mario rudely declines and runs into the kitchen to hide. Again, we're given a few options. Let's go over the stupid ones first. If you choose to hide in the oven like a moron, I'm willing to bet you can guess what happens. Hide in the oven? That's an atrocious idea, sure.
I know you're in here. I'm gonna find you.
She almost British? That'd make me hate her more.
I think she's gone.
I don't think she is.
Hey, why won't the door open? Come on! What's that smell?
You, bro, it's you.
Oh no, the oven is on!
Oh shit, you're cooked.
Ah!
That's right, you roast like a pig. Now, if we decide instead to put on our thinking caps like a big boy, we choose to hide under the sink, which is actually not thinking cap behavior now that I think about it, but whatever, because that is the correct option to choose in this case. And I actually don't know if you can even hide anywhere else in the kitchen. After Chica leaves, Mario finds a battery, so he heads back to the office to pop those puppies in the camera, only to find that he needs more. Great. We notice a key to the supply closet on the desk, so we go there to check for more batteries. Lo and behold, we actually find some there, but we also find Bonnie sniffing around for some booty. Upon being groped, Bonnie drops another fire bar.
I found you. Time for some fun.
I love this game so much. Anyways, we fight Bonnie off with some cleaning supplies and book it back to the office to lock Bonnie out. Once Bonnie gives up, Mario checks the cameras and notices an arcade machine inside of the curtains in Pirate's Cove. So, like a moron, he decides to go check it out. We get to the arcade machine and hop into the next Mona Lisa of a minigame. In this minigame, we play as Kyle after the events of the Bite of 83, where instead of taking him to the hospital, they just leave his sorry ass in his room to die. Kyle walks down to the basement feeling a lot of guilt, as he should. This is where William comes downstairs to yell and belittle him. Once again, as he should. But then William goes sicko mode and slits his throat, stuffing his son into the Foxy suit that for some reason they have in their basement. Upon finishing the minigame, Mario notices Foxy is right behind him and a chase ensues. Now, you might see this chest and blade off to the side of the cove, and you might think to use them to your advantage. That's what I thought. But after a few attempts trying to interact with them, I noticed that they're just fucking decorations. Also, for some reason, the Mario avatar art while interacting with these objects is way different from the usual PNGs. Anyways, we run back to the office and lock Foxy out. Once he leaves, we decide it would be a phenomenal idea to exit the office once more and continue to look around. Mario just never learns, does he? In the party room, we find a note on the floor that wasn't there before. The note seems to be from another one of William's sons, who I can only imagine is Michael. Michael's worried about his missing brother and is a little sussy about how weird his father is acting. Going back to the office, we lose power again and again. I can't just describe what happens next. You have to see it yourself. Oh, Dick. Bro, we closed the door for like 20 collective seconds. Please don't sing again. Please, dear God, don't. Okay, we're good. This is some bullshit like I wasn't supposed to actually come back to the office. I'll cream my pants, bro.
Aw, man. He didn't finish his song.
I actually really liked it.
I was enjoying that. He should have been on American Idol.
What?
Thanks.
Oh shit. Bro, is he about to get touched? This just might be the best game ever designed. Wasting no time, we jump right into night 3. Phone guy tells us Freddy has been squirting, literally, which like, fucking ew. He tells us it's our job to go to the back room and clean him up, so we head to the back room to do just that. Upon entering, we see Freddy posted up on the table and we're given the option to remove his head, hand, or torso. Choosing to remove his torso, we unsurprisingly find a child's corpse inside. Mario runs to the bathroom like a bitch to vomit, and upon trying to leave, quickly runs back into the stall to hide from Chica, who had just entered. We choose to try and punch Chica, but unfortunately for us, Chica is made out of metal, so she just kills us instead of giving us a blumpkin. Oh, you're dead. Oh, wow, bro, I don't want to eat it. Back the fuck up. Back up, bro. Just shit out my eyes and shit, bro. Fuck off. What you actually have to do is just trip her and run away. Doing exactly that, we run back to the office only to find an arcade machine inside. Okay, let's play it. In this minigame, we play as William as he wrangles up the kids and brutally murders them. William manages to frame his son Michael, but I don't really care. Pretty typical FNAF stuff if I'm being honest. But come on, do we really care about this backstory? Of course not. You're watching this video to learn about the tomfoolery in this game, so let's get back to that. As Mario leaves the office in an attempt to explore again, the power goes out, and Mario asks the most based question of all time. Oh shit, you're fucked.
Are you serious? Is this power supply running on AA batteries?
Okay, that's a good line. I like that one. Mario decides he's just gonna leave because this is bullshit. However, while trying to leave, Golden Freddy appears right in front of him and night 3 comes to a close. Night 4 has us playing as Luigi, who goes to the pizzeria in search of Mario. As Luigi goes to the office, he finds William fucking around with some crate. After a bit of back and forth, William tells Luigi he's seen Mario around. He says he'll help Luigi find Mario, but that he has something he needs to do first. Giving Luigi the task of keeping the animatronics distracted, he walks off, telling Luigi not to look in his crate. So the very first thing Luigi does is look in the crate, because he's a little rebel and it is in fact not a phase. Inside is a note from Henry. It just says some stupid shit about not believing Michael is a killer. If you remember, William framed his son for the child murders, whatever, boring ass garbage. I want funny haha lines! Luigi goes to the back room and finds an arcade machine. You shouldn't be surprised by these things anymore. This minigame isn't even a game, it's just sitting there like a dunce while Henry talks to you. If you thought Henry's monologue from Pizzeria Simulator was good, you're not even ready for how top tier this monologue is. And you can listen to the whole thing in my playthrough on my second channel, Dxtr Black. After completing this minigame, a Golden Freddy plush appears on the table of the back room and the power once again goes out and Luigi gets scared like a bitch. The plushie offers to help Luigi find his way around the building and to Mario. Luigi agrees and we play a sister location style game where the plushie tells us which directions to go in and when to stay still if there's an animatronic present. The only difference between sister location in this section, however, is that the plushie in this game talks about 400 times slower than Baby did.
What do I need to go to the kitchen for?
You will see. So first, go forward.
After wandering into the kitchen, Luigi meets the marionette. The marionette talks for about 8 hours straight and basically just says, murder bad, I murder murderers, Mario is near the bathroom, go get him. Oh, and also please free the children's souls. We do exactly that and find Mario in a dark room halfway inside of a suit. We solve a code puzzle that opens the suit, which actually makes no sense whatsoever, but whatever, let's just pretend like it does. The brothers walk out of the bathroom and catch Freddy making out with a toilet. No, I'm not joking. This is actually something that is in the game. I have no idea what's going on. I might be having a stroke. Anyways, the brothers go home, as they should. Before starting night 5, we're given the option to go back or not. We obviously choose not to, but psych fucker, that's the wrong option. Luigi's fucking dead. Oh yeah, and Mario's dead too. Watch Fredbear bite his fucking arm off like he's Pennywise and pull him into the fucking void and force him to stare at his brother's corpse until the end of time. Damn. That escalated quickly, didn't it? Yeah, let's just get back to the pizzeria instead and avoid all that. Upon arriving, the brothers hot-bottom to the office to make a game plan. Luigi tells Mario about the promise he made to the marionette, and Mario agrees to help. The brothers go to the kitchen and ask the marionette how they can save the kids' souls. The marionette tells them what they have to do is save each kid. Pretty basic concept.
Tee, you'll find shit they like, Lamau. Fetch quest time!
To save Chica, we have to go eat the pizza found in the party room and compliment how good it is. That makes the soul of Chica happy and she gives us a party box and a chest key. Using the chest key, we go to the bathroom and unlock a crate that has Bonnie's guitar inside. We take his guitar to him, saving his soul, and he gives us a party box and another chest key. I'm geeked out of my mind right now. Using the key Bonnie gave us, we unlock a crate in the bathrooms. That crate has a Freddy plush inside. We take the Freddy plush to Freddy in Pirate's Cove, saving his soul, and it gives us another party box. I'm straight up jorking it. Heading back to the kitchen, we see the marionette, Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy having a party. They thank us for the help, but then Foxy shows up. He wants to kill us, but everyone else tells him not to. Golden Freddy soon shows up, which by the way is the brother who got chomped on if it wasn't obvious, and he forgives his brother for killing him. Leaving the party, we get ready to leave the pizzeria, but as we step into the party room, we see William walking towards the bathrooms and decide to follow him. This is the point in the game where we get to see Springlock failure, which is just always a good time, I can't lie.
Hide in my suit.
Kids, it's me, Spring Bonnie. It's your best pal.
Oh shit. Oh, he's fucking dead. Oh damn. After watching the gruesome death, the brothers kick rocks and go back home. And after that, we get the abandoned ending. Oh no. Endings. Let's go! After the credits roll, we're put into the point of view of William inside the Springtrap suit 30 years later. We're given the option to either end the pain or to wait out our time. Choosing end the pain leads to a monologue from William longer than the Henry monologue we had earlier, which I was dead ass falling asleep during. You can see that in my full playthrough over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. 3 shills in one video? God damn, I'm a menace. Choosing this path leads to Springtrap burning down the establishment and ending his life, giving us the we all burn ending. If we instead choose to wait our time, we get a teaser for the next game in the series, Mario and Animatronic Horror Fazbear Fright Arc, which, spoiler alert, was never released. And with that, that's all Mario and Animatronic Horror has to offer. There is actually a second game called Mario and Animatronic Horror The Nightmare Begins, which is a direct sequel to this game, but it's only a demo that will almost certainly never be finished after the DMCA takedown request. So I won't be talking about it in this video, but you can watch my full playthrough of the demo on my second channel, Dxtr Black. That's 4 self-plugs in one video. What are you gonna do about it, stinker? But with that being said, I really enjoyed my time playing this game. It's definitely a bad game, but I think it has enough charm to make up for that. There's plenty of unintentionally funny moments in this game that make it hard to be forgotten, and I think people will continue to reminisce about this game for years to come. There's actually a remake of this game being developed, although I'm not sure if progress is still being made on it, but I'll be sure to keep you all posted. In my Dormitibus video, I asked you guys what canceled FNAF fan game you'd like to see completed. My favorite answer was this one by Decimal Heckery, who chose Afton Build, and I couldn't agree more. The demo for this game was incredible, and I really think it could have gone somewhere great, even if it didn't get funded by the Fanverse Initiative.
Have you ever been on acid? If the answer is yes, don't admit that and incriminate yourself. Instead, I'd like to ask all you acid doers a question. Have you ever heard of Five Nights at Wario's? I personally have never done acid, but after playing this game, I can only imagine that's what it's like. So by the end of this video, let me know. Five Nights at Wario's is a FNAF fan game made by WWW Wario. I'll be referring to him as Andy since that's his name. I'll be totally transparent, I'm not a huge fan of the gameplay in this game, however, the story is what really interests me. So while yes, I will be talking about the game mechanics just like I would with any game, I want to put some emphasis on the story as well, since it might honestly be better than Five Nights at Freddy's story-wise. Considering you're counting everything after FNAF Pizzeria Simulator, the games after that make me want to slam my dick in a car door. Before I start, however, let me take a look at how the news video's doing. Thanks for that. My sub count more than doubled since my last video was uploaded, and it's almost to 8,000 views as of writing this. I appreciate it greatly. Also, thank you all for the comments you left. I tried responding to most of them, and if I couldn't think of a good response, I tried to heart them to let you know I saw. Also, the question I asked in the last video was, what's your favorite FNAF fan game and why? My favorite comment was this one from EmberFox4951. They mentioned Day Shift at Freddy's, the game I almost made a video about before deciding to cover Five Nights at Fuckboys. If you're interested in being at the beginning of one of my videos, stick around to the end of this video where I'll be asking another question. Anywho, let's get into the video. Five Nights at Wario's begins with a cutscene. We're told that a few years ago, Wario and Waluigi opened a fast food factory together, and one day when they went into work, they never came back out and haven't been seen since. Years have passed, and now the government is reopening the factory, and we're hired for an overnight security guard. I already have a few issues. One, what is a fast food factory? Fast food and factory are two words that don't mix with one another. Fast food implies that you get your food, fast. But factory implies that the food is packaged and sent to other companies to sell. Maybe they're producing the meat or the boxes and shipping it to other restaurants so that they can cook and use it. That's the only thing that could make sense to me. And two, the government reopened it? Why would the government reopen a factory that makes fast food products? That doesn't make much sense. Who's in charge? The president? That just doesn't sound quite right to me. Anyways, we're loaded in and get our first sights on the office. And well, let's just say, compared to the office we covered last time, this ain't Van Gogh. You'll be able to tell most of the sets in this game were taken straight from Google and blown up to fit the screen rather than being modeled and rendered from Blender. Most of the art is very pixelated and sometimes it's hard to make out what some objects are. Like, I cannot for the life of me figure out what this thing on the shelf is. I'm thinking it's a toilet facing left because I have no idea what else this could possibly be. Regardless, the gameplay is almost the same as Five Nights at Freddy's 1. You have a door on each side of you, although the one on the right is technically a window, but it functions the same way a door does. You have cameras that let you see around the building, and one camera that only has audio. You also have a computer in front of you, but that won't be important until Night 4. On Night 1, Wario and Waluigi are active characters. They will move around the cameras until making it to your left door. Both Wario and Waluigi use your left door and never switch. Both make a sound cue as they reach your door, letting you know that they're there. I have a huge problem with these sound cues. It was never a problem on this night and only ever became a problem on Night 5. I don't think the sound cues work as they're supposed to in this game. On Night 5 there are several, and I do mean several, times where Wario or Waluigi would jump scare me even though no sound cue was ever played. This led to me having to develop a new strategy I'll get into later. Something you might notice while looking through the cameras is how rancid a lot of the character renders look. This game did my boy Waluigi, and especially my boy Luigi, so dirty. I'll get into Luigi later, but just look at Waluigi. What happened to his arms? Why are they longer than the massive shit I took earlier? The designs of these characters, I feel, were supposed to make them unsettling, but instead I found myself laughing whenever I caught a glimpse of a new render. I don't think anyone is scared of this. On Night 2 we're introduced to Luigi. Technically Peach can also spawn on this night, but it's super unlikely so I won't talk about her yet. Luigi's design makes me feel really gross. For some reason Andy decided to make it look like his nose was stuffed with a 30-pound dumbbell. Look at that! What is that? If he's supposed to be dead, I get why. His big ass nose probably snapped his neck into 2 clean cuts. I cannot take him seriously. Trying to put that aside, Luigi's mechanic is super simple to deal with. He'll move around the cameras, but instead of going to your left door, he'll go to your right. He also makes a sound cue, and you're supposed to be able to tell the difference based on what kind of sound you hear. If you hear a door creaking sound, that's how you know either Wario or Waluigi is at your door. And if you hear footsteps, that's how you know that Luigi is at your door. Again, Luigi only ever attacks at the right door, so when you hear the footsteps, you know just to check that one. But of course, on Night 5 there were several occasions where Luigi would attack me with no sound cue whatsoever. So I'm not totally sure what's going on, and I'll talk about it more when we get to Night 5. But before we can do that, we need to talk about Night 3. Night 3 introduces Peach. Peach works in the exact same way all the other characters do. She'll move around the cameras until she comes to your door. Just like Luigi, she'll only ever attack the right door. She also has a sound cue that is footsteps, but unlike Wario and Waluigi, you'll be able to tell whether Luigi or Peach is attacking, because Peach's footsteps don't sound nearly as heavy as Luigi's, and it sounds like she's wearing heels. I bet you could guess that she also causes major problems on Night 5, and you'd be right. Night 4 introduces the last main character from this game, Mario. Mario is a character that finally does something different. You never see Mario on your cameras as far as I'm aware. Instead, when you flip down your camera, there's a chance he can appear on your computer screen. While on your screen, he has a few states he can go through, each getting closer and closer to you as you close your monitor. If he gets too close, the next time you put your camera down, he'll be in your office like the withered animatronics from FNAF 2. When he appears, all you have to do is raise your camera, and he'll reset. Now, you might be asking yourself, if Mario only ever gets close when you open your cameras, and you just said Mario is the last main character in the game, and all the other characters have sound cues to let you know they're at the door, then why would you ever open the camera in the first place? Well, I have an answer for you. You don't. Yeah, that's right. There is no reason to ever lift up your cameras throughout the whole game. There's no Foxy. Mario is the closest thing to Foxy, but it's in reverse, so it doesn't even matter. As long as you're listening for sound cues and closing the doors in time, Mario can never attack you, making nights 1 through 4 an absolute cakewalk. Bringing up the fact that you really only need sound, Chicken Ninja 42, if you're looking for another challenge, play Five Nights at Wario's without sound. I dare you, see what happens. But now we need to talk about Night 5. Oh boy, Night 5. How I hate you. Alright, so Night 5 adds no new characters. It just increases the difficulty of the 5 characters we've seen already. Oh my god, this night makes me want to die. To start, the characters seem to move at a rate so fast that the moment the night starts, they're already at my door. The reason you'd think that? Well, you hear their sound cues right away, but then you check the doors and nobody is there, so you don't close the door. You sit there in silence waiting for another sound cue. Eventually you hear one, so you go to check your lights. Guess what, fucker? Your buttons are jammed. Why are your buttons jammed, you ask in frustration? Because unbeknownst to you, there have been characters camping your doors for the last 30 seconds, and you didn't respond and close the doors fast enough. Why didn't you close the door fast enough, you ask? Because they didn't make another fucking sound cue. They just appeared out of thin air. Leave the package at the door, because I won't be there to sign for my ass being handed to me. Now you might be wondering, if you don't ever have to lift up the cameras, couldn't you just in theory sit in your office and not do anything? In FNAF 1, characters can't jump scare you even if your buttons are jammed, so long as you don't raise your camera. That's why Foxy's there. But there is no regular Foxy in this game, so what's the problem? Well, the characters in this game don't give a shit if your monitor is up. If your door is open and you don't close it, they're walking their happy asses right in to slap you right across the face with their crank. When I tell you that this night took me over an hour to complete, I'm not lying. I had to look on YouTube for a new strategy because these characters don't make the sound cues they're supposed to. I ended up having to constantly open the camera and check the 2 cameras that were right next to my door and dealing with Mario as normal. After completing Night 5, we walk out of the factory before getting shown an end screen with a question mark after the word end. Then we're thrown into Night 6. Does Night 6 add anything new or unique to the gameplay loop? No. No, it doesn't. It's just a harder version of Night 5. Nothing much to talk about. After completing it, we see a final end screen telling us to never enter the factory when it's closed again. And the game is finally finished. Of course, there's a custom night, but as far as I can tell, it doesn't add anything else. Just like most FNAF games, this game has phone calls at the beginning of each night. On Night 1, we're told that we're just supposed to watch the factory for break-ins and to make sure the machines are working as intended. Which, if we're watching to make sure the machines work, does this imply that the factory has no human workers? Maybe. We're also told about a rumor. Apparently something happened 7 years ago and we're not supposed to think or worry about it. I don't know why he told me about it if I wasn't supposed to think about it, but whatever, I suppose. On Night 2, the phone guy brings up the rumor again before quickly brushing it off. Then he tells us that 7 years ago, the whole gang that worked at the factory went missing and was never found. A year later, a woman was passing by the factory and claimed she saw Wario in one of the windows of the factory. And a year after that, another man saw the same thing. At first, I thought the rumor was that the characters went missing or something related, but after re-listening to this call, it's very clear that the workers going missing and this rumor are 2 different things. Something to put in the back of your mind. Night 3 is really where we start to get some lore drops. We're told that 7 years ago, Wario and Waluigi went to work and never came back out. Mario and Luigi, concerned, went to check on them. Upon entering the building, they also never came back out. Peach, who was worried about her boyfriend Mario, went into the factory to look for him, and she, as I'm sure you could guess, also never came back out. After this, apparently some unknown man entered the factory, and he too never emerged from the factory again. We're told that the factory had a costume for mascot purposes, which alone doesn't make sense, because why would a factory have a mascot? But putting that aside, the day the unknown man went into the factory, the costume disappeared and has never been found. Afterwards, a rumor was started that the factory was cursed and it finally closed down. Wow, a lot of exposition for one phone call, I know, but now at least we finally have a lead to go off of. We now know that the rumor from earlier is that the factory was cursed, and I'm willing to bet it has something to do with the unknown man that went into the factory and the costume disappearing. On this night, the phone guy also mentions to us that the machines in the factory have randomly been turning off and on at night. Very odd. Let's keep that in mind. On Night 4, we're told that it should be our final shift for a while at the factory, as they will be closing temporarily. We're told the machines won't stop randomly turning off and on, and that one of the employees found 2 teeth in one of the rooms. The phone guy asks us if we've seen anyone walking around because he says he's been hearing voices while at work. He claimed to hear a voice saying, "Stop him," and "Help me." Apparently the voice sounded like Luigi's. My guess is this unknown man that went into the factory is the man that Luigi was talking about, but that may be subject to change. Night 5 is the super spooky, bone-chilling, ass-quaking phone call. Phone guy questions why we're at the factory even though it's closed, and there actually doesn't seem to be a good answer for that. We're told we're stuck inside until the doors open at 6 a.m. and that the phone guy is coming to try to open the doors for us earlier. He tells us he read something about souls. Apparently, if a soul seeks revenge, they can become angry and confused, and sometimes even take over their old bodies again. This would explain why we could see the characters walking around the factory. Phone guy tells us that Wario and Waluigi had a secret recipe that they came up with years ago, and he thinks that there may be people breaking into the factory to steal the recipe. We're also told that these souls will become hostile towards things that are similar to what caused them to die. Which brings the question, if the characters are hostile towards us, does that mean that another worker, possibly a security guard, is what killed them? And is this unknown man that entered the building the one who did it? The phone guy gets to the door of the factory before our line cuts to static and we hear this. If you didn't understand what was said there, the voice said, "We shall avenge whoever did this to us." It's unclear who exactly is saying this, but now we know that these souls are pissed. Most likely, rightfully so. Night 6 has no phone call and neither does Night 7, so this is what we're left with. 7 years ago, for some unknown reason, when Wario and Waluigi went into work, they never returned. Mario and Luigi went to check on them, but went missing, and Peach went to look for Mario, but went missing as well. An unknown man entered the factory the same day the mascot costume went missing, and the factory closed due to a rumor that it was cursed. 7 years later, the government reopens the factory. The machines keep turning off and on, likely from the souls of the old workers, and teeth are found in one of the rooms. The souls are wanting to avenge what killed them and are seemingly upset at us, leading us to believe that we look like or are similar to whatever killed them. That's a big piece of food to bite off, but it's definitely a start. I suppose now it's important to mention 2 other characters that appear in this game. Sometimes, on occasion, when you look at the bathroom camera, which is the camera with only audio, you can see flashes of a weird-looking version of Wario. That character is Wario Man. Wario Man is almost undoubtedly the costume that was mentioned in the phone calls, as I have no idea what else it could be. The other character is something I only saw once in my entire playthrough. One time I flashed my light at the left door and saw this. I have no idea what that is, but I'll just refer to it as Entity for the sake of convenience. I'd want to guess that the Entity is the unknown man, but for some reason I'm leaning against that idea, but I could be wrong. Where we're at now, I'm guessing that the day the characters went missing were actually all the same day, and the unknown man went into the factory to look for the recipe. While he was there, I think he got into the Wario Man costume and killed everyone inside out of fear that the police would be called. But that's all I've got for now. And with that, that's all I've got for this video. If you're as captivated by this story as I am already, let me know in the comments and I can start cooking up another Wario video. I'd never post the same topic back to back, so the next Wario video won't be next. I plan on doing a community poll for my next video, so be on the lookout for that so you can get your vote in. I'd also like to say thanks to the Galaxy TG, as they're the person I took the gameplay for this video from, as the video I filmed got corrupted. I've been Dxtr, and I'll see you all in the next video. See ya!